Welcome to Rauta's Underground Trio. Once again, we go through 3 different smaller releases from the underground. Not all of them are metal. So, first in alphabetical order and then worst to best. Now, this time, however, these are very close to one another in terms of quality, at least in my opinion. Obviously, feel free to disagree. But here we go. First, we'll go to Germany with this Contre. Infinity of Dreams is the name of the albums. This is, as much as I can tell, a duo. I'm not sure if they're a couple. Kind of get the feeling, but I might be totally wrong. Anyhow, this is neoclassical music, combining elements from ambient and beyond. Then we go to Mexico. Let's put it here. I think the sun is trying to cockblock me here. So, Sangre Antigua, Call of the Werewolves. So, MCD from Mexico playing black metal. And then finally to Poland with Varnheim, Void, third album by this black metal band. Let's, I guess, shuffle a little bit and go to the worst to best ways. And here we are, back to Germany once again. So, as you can see, this one is Digi sleeve packaging. There are the artists in question, and here they are mentioned. And that's pretty much of it. There is no booklet. There are no lyrics whatsoever included. Then again, this kind of music isn't really known for so much lyrical output, even though it's often quite normal that with martial, industrial, neoclassic, sometimes even within ambient, you get that part where he's like, okay, this is all about monologue or dialogue going on. There are both ways, monologue maybe being the typical ways. Either way, neoclassical music is the name of the game, but this does have some martial industrial pounding to it. And as such, it elaborately moves from one subgenre to another kind of seamlessly. Overall, I would say it's pretty dark, very atmospheric, but not exactly the kind of dark ambient. But there are these parts where you can say they touch the ground. And as such, I think they do nicely. But as it is, these are very much, matters of the taste. And I've never been too much of the neoclassical things. Sure, I do like some of them. But when it comes to the world of martial industrial and even more so with dark ambient, that's my territory, more or less. And as such, maybe I'm a little bit on the outskirts of the given style here. And that might be the reason why it doesn't do the magic trick for me. Don't get me wrong, this is pretty sweet to listen to. This is this atmosphere which, just like I described, goes between these different styles. Gives you a little bit of a gothic edge, if you will, without, however, sounding too much of that. Now, overall, pretty nice of an album coming from the genre, which is not that known. Then we go to Mexico with this 4-track MCD, Sangre Antigua. This is rather new band, and I was getting the vibe that this might be more of a side project than a main band. But sometimes artists just say like, no way, we have all multiple main projects and all that stuff. So take it as you will. However, this 4Bs of a band is made of members which do have other bands, and that's where my educated guess goes to. Now, this is very new, 2024, I think, and there are synth parts. They're somewhat borderline symphonic parts where this kind of goes to with their music, but they're not really nailing it that much yet. Melodies are, however, more like the dominating parts, and I guess in a way this could be potentially quite catchy. However, this is without the extreme ends. This is not exactly going very slow with their music, so there's no doomy elements. And why I mention is that this is also not one of those which goes really fast. So it's like avoiding the extremities, given the style that is black metal, of course. So when it comes to melodic black metal, of course, certain people either want to go super catchy or at least very fast tempo to have this certain kind of aggression and extremity, and this is not exactly that. But then again, this is quite a new band, so maybe they're still figuring out what their style would eventually be, given more time, more songwriting and all. So far, so good. So this is pretty ear-pleasing, but let's be honest about it, this is not exactly the most memorable stuff out there. So given that this is, their first, or one of the very first releases, and the band is just kind of a fresh, maybe it's more like a work in progress, a little bit demo-ish thing going on. But overall, I mean, musically, quite nice, just a little bit more punch to this production, like more powerful sound, and it really could be nailing the thing. Definitely worth giving a shot, that is. Then finally to Poland with Varnheim. Void is the album. This is the third one by these Polish guys. And, the first thing I was noticing when checking out what he said about similar artists are, Mgła. There are parts where this totally feels definitely that this band is being inspired by Mgła and like. But then again, there are also differences. Only 4 tracks for a full album, meaning they are probably overextending their stay with individual songs, and as such, not the most memorable one when it comes to the individual songs. However, when it comes to the atmosphere and all, this is actually pretty nice. It's mostly melodic, fast tempo, but there is also this level of melancholia, a certain kind of a sadness, grieving, if you will, which is very much giving this a little bit of a Slavic vibe, in a good way, mind you. And production is good. However, the vocal parts are a little bit, I don't know, they lack the punch, they lack the aggression. It's almost like they're holding back a little bit too much, in my opinion. It's not a big thing, but it kind of can make you feel like, hey, it could be just much more. Maybe it's a style they've chosen, like, hey, we don't want to create too much aggression with the vocals, or maybe the vocalist is not just on par with the rest of the band. Who knows? These are always like matters of taste. So if I say, yeah, it's not that great, but doing fine, some people might totally disagree and say, yeah, it's one of the best vocals out there. This is my opinion, and I feel there could be so much more that the vocals could be doing. But all in all, I would say this Void is the best of the pile. Maybe not much, but still quite clearly the kind of stuff. If I wanted to just pick one album of this pile of 3 albums on this episode, it would be Varnheim. Now, obviously, links are included in the description box, so do yourself a favor and check out this music. None of these are mediocrity, but more on the good side of things. So give it a go, and I hope you like them. And off you go, and see you soon with more reviews coming your way.